Okay, so we're looking at question 4 of CAS Exam 5, Fall 2017. I'm going to do a foundational explanation real quick because it's important, and then we'll just go through the problem. So first, let's look at the difference between an occurrence-based policy and a claims-made policy. So, because that's relative to the problem. So let me just explain it, and hopefully it'll make sense. So occurrence-based policy is maybe what it sounds like to you. It is an insurer will pay based upon when a loss actually occurs. So a good example to that would be, let's say I have a car accident, it's February 2018, and I break my leg, I need physical therapy, and my car needs to be replaced, whatever, right? It's very possible that even though this is February 2018 when the accident happened, I won't get paid until November of 2019. Well, 2019 is going to be a totally different policy year, so under a claims-made policy, I wouldn't get anything. Because a claims-made policy, whatever losses occur in that year have to be paid in that year. If it's not, then it doesn't get covered. An occurrence policy is exactly what you would think in real life happens with the car insurance. You have your loss in February 2018. You're going to get finally paid for that loss November 2019 or July 2019 or whenever. You know what I mean? But there's not a restriction of when that actually happens with regard to that actual policy year. So that's the difference between occurrence and claims made. Claims made would kind of be like a term life insurance. So let's say you have a 5-year policy. If you die within the 5-year period, you get paid. If you die after the 5 years, you don't get paid. Well, a term life insurance policy, life insurance in general, has a quick turnaround. So unlike a car accident, if somebody dies, within a couple of days, maybe even a week or two, whatever, you're going to get your check from the life insurance company. So that's just the overall difference between claims made and occurrence policies. So driving home this point, let's look at this sheet right here. An occurrence is based upon, and the headings are really for this particular problem, but if the occurrence happened in 2013, if you look at it, we have a diagonal trend. So looking at 2013, a policy year 1 minus that is going to be 2012 and 2011. But if we're looking for the actual policy years for 2013 that comes effective, these are the corresponding sales references that we need. It's a diagonal, all right? However, looking at the claims made policy, if it happens in 2013, it gets paid in 2013. So 2013 is boom, boom, boom. It really doesn't matter what happened before. It doesn't really happen. What matters what happened after. It only matters if it happens within the actual period, all right? So when we look at this particular problem, let's go ahead and go through the problem at this point. Oops, sorry. All right, when we go through the problem at this point, we have annual policies. Let's skip the second bullet for a second. Annual report year loss trend of 3%. Company writes policies uniformly throughout the year. Exposure levels are constant. For report year 2013, the loss cost per exposure for claims occurring in 2013 is $200. Okay, so let's go back to the second bullet real quick because that took a minute to actually conceptually get this, but this is much easier to look at it this way, the way that I'm about to explain it to you. So for all claims reported in 1 year, 40% of the ultimate loss come from the same year, 35% come from the prior year, and 25% come from the second prior year. The only thing that means is that we have a total loss of this year. Of that total loss, 40% came from things that happened this year, 35% came from things that happened the previous year, and the other 25% came from things that happened 2 years ago. All right? So if you look at the last bullet for this particular question, it says for report year 2013, the cost per exposure is $200. Well, that's a really fancy way of saying $200 is 40% of some number. All right, so you get your calculator out and you do 200 divided by 0.4, and you realize that some number is really 500. So when we go to Excel to do some calculations here, this number is 200, but I'm not going to type 200. I'm going to type 500 times 40%, which is 200, all right? And this should be 500 times 35%, which is that number, and this is equal to 500 times 25%, which is equal to that number, okay? Remembering back from the problem, we had a trend of 3%. That simply means that we're going to have a 3% increase of these numbers as we go forward in the years. So this is going to be 1.03 times this cell. That represents a 3% increase I'm going to drag that over because I want to have a 3% increase all around, and I want to drag this down because I want 3% increases all the way down to 2018. All right, so now we can actually look at the problem and see if we can start solving it. So first part, A, 1 point, calculate the loss per exposure for the following: an occurrence policy effective January 1 and a claims made policy effective January 1, 2016, and a claims made policy effective January 1, 2018 with a retroactive date January 1 of 2017. All right, this is all you need to do. It's really not that difficult. So remember on this sheet where I showed you the occurrence is going to be based off of this diagonal. This represents a policy that comes into effect 2013, January 1, 2013. We are asked for a policy, a occurrence-based policy that comes into effect 2016, January 1, 2016. That's this cell here, and this cell here. All right, that's it. So going over to this sheet, that's this cell here, and this cell here. So the answer to question 1 is none other than equal to this cell plus this cell plus this cell. And that's it. That's it. This represents the cost of the losses for the policy that came into effect January 1, 2016. That's it. The second question, or the second part of part A, is a claims made policy effective January 1, 2018 with a retroactive date of January 1, 2017. All right, so remember, for claims made, it's going to be the horizontal. So this is January of 2018. This is this number here. And it also gives us a retroactive. So it's saying, okay, we need to provide coverage 1 year back. Well, 1 year back is this cell here. It's not going to be, we're going to ignore this number because this problem doesn't take us back to 2016, which is 2 years back. It only takes us 1 year back. So this answer is going to be equal to simply this cell plus this cell. And that's it. All right. This is the claims made. So we're going horizontal. This is January 2018. This is January 2017. That's it. All right. Going back to the problem. All right, part B, a customer switching from a claims-made policy to an occurrence policy effective January 2016. Calculate the total loss per exposure that would provide complete coverage without overlap for this customer. All right, so this is something we need to be very careful with because we have complete coverage and we cannot have any overlaps. So again, looking at this is what a claims-made policy looks like over the years and then the occurrence-based policy over the years. Well, we have a claims made switching to a claims base, and that happens January 2016. So I'm going to just take this, and I'm going to delete the claims made after 2016 because that's where we have a switch. All right? And then what I'm going to do, just to show you guys exactly what's going on here, I'm just going to copy what an occurrence policy looks like from 2006 on, and I'm going to bring it up. All right. Now we need to make some edits. Remember how I told you that the diagonals are the only thing that we care about? Well, that's true. We get a policy an occurrence policy January of 2016 that represents these 3 cells. That's it. But we need to make a small adjustment because we need to have complete coverage. So if a claim happened in 2015 that was not paid, then let's say it happened in 2015 but it doesn't get settled to the 2016, this occurrence policy won't cover it because the occurrence policy only covers things that happened actually in 2016. So you actually need to include these corresponding cells from the chart that we have over here. So that's this cell, this cell, this cell, and this cell. All right? And we also need to include the cost of the original policy, which is the occurrence policy, which is effective January 1, 2016, which just so happens to be the answer to the first part of this question. So 1,028 actually is the final answer for this. And if it's not clear, just practice, watch the video again. It's really not that difficult. So anyway, best of luck, and I hope that this makes sense after I explained it.